Hey everybody, this is Glidercat and it's time to play. Today, boy oh boy, do I have a really cool game to preview for you. It's called The Crust and it's being developed by a team in Russia called Vayom Studio. Now it looks super cool and I started working on this video as soon as I discovered the game just a few days ago. And if you're new to the Glidercat channel, I often feature games that are very early in their development in these early preview videos to get them on your radar. And then if you like what you see, you can add them to your wish list, follow them in Steam to keep up with the game's developments, and then maybe get notified if the game releases a demo or it starts a free playtest program or something. So if you like that kind of thing, these early previews, then definitely stick around and consider subscribing to the channel. Now getting back to The Crust, the target release date in Steam is shown as November 25th, 2022, which is a little over a year from when this video is being recorded, so we've got some time to wait here. And I've got a lot of information to cover about The Crust, so let's get to it. Right at the top, let me read from the Steam description to give you an idea of what this game is all about. It says, "Welcome to The Crust, a game that gives you the role of CEO of the gigantic moon colonizing company. It's a large-scale economic simulator with elements of survival, a rich setting, and a dramatic script. No fate is determined, and progress is driven by people. It's time for you to decide whether to become the one who brings change or the one who adapts to it, whether to be a mediocre and insignificant nobody or to be a pioneer in the space colonization industry, leading your corporation to dominance and putting forth the effort required to make humanity an interstellar species. To be second in the space race is to be the first one who loses. Are you ready to take this challenge? The conquest of the moon has already begun." So that's some of the description from Steam, and from everything I've seen and read about The Crust, it's clear the developers have put a lot into the backstory and narrative of the game. I expect there will be a lot of drama, tension, and political intrigue built into the game, and we're going to hear a bit more of that as we go on, and it just seems like it's been really well done in my opinion. Before we move on, I need to mention that everything you see in this video is subject to change. We're going to be looking at a lot of pre-alpha gameplay footage, and it may not fully represent what the final game is going to look like when it ultimately releases. And if you happen to be watching this video many months after it posts, it's likely that a lot will have changed. So again, just keep that in mind as you watch this. Okay, now let's watch an early trailer for The Crust from June 2020. It's about a year ago. But it shows some of the backstory for the game. We'll see the updated trailer in a moment, but I thought this one was pretty cool, so I wanted to share it with you first. Now the narration is in Russian, and I didn't want to try and just talk over it in English, so I've just included the English subtitles, so I'll just let the original audio run. Alright, here we go with the backstory trailer.
Земля уютная, теплая, полная чистой воды и свежего воздуха, плодородных полей и безграничных ресурсов. Как заботливая мать ты защищала, оберегала нас, воспитывая мастеров, способных построить раи. Но вместо этого мы создали ад из отходов и смога. Теплоту и уют мы похоронили под пеплом, химикатами и нефтью. В своей неуемной жажде наживы мы жадно поглощали твои ресурсы, грызлись за них в войнах, словно бешеные волки, словно демоны, жаждущие разрушений. Мы жгли леса, травили моря, терзали землю и чуть было не убили тебя. Такое невозможно простить. Но пусть и поздно, мы одумались, увидели, что натворили. Нужно было спасать нашу планету. Но как? Ответ нашелся среди звезд в ночи. Луна – новая надежда, новая возможность, за которую мы ухватились, как за спасательный круг. И в этот раз мы все сделали правильно, пусть и заплатив высокую цену. Не щадя себя и своих жизней, мы возвели фундамент для нового будущего, вашего будущего. С этого и началась наша история. История первых лунопроходцев.
All right, so that trailer gives us a bit of the backstory. Humans are ruining the planet and thus being driven out into space. It's a very common theme that we see in many of the new space games coming out. What's a little unique with the Crust is the focus on the moon. It seems like most games of this type, where you have to flee the Earth, they have you heading out into deep space, but in this case, we're just heading out to the moon. Okay, now let's take a look at the latest game trailer. This one is in English and it came out only a few days ago as I record this. All right, here we go with the latest trailer.
For us, there have never been any limits, only the limits we imposed on ourselves. At the beginning of this millennium, our planet prospered, and we prospered with it. But our incessant greed led to the impoverishment of nature and turned a flourishing garden into a lifeless and dangerous desert. We became strangers to each other. We renounced our values and our ideals. We squeezed the last resources from the earth, but we still weren't satisfied. Soot and steel was all that was left of a once green oasis. And our planet became a stranger to us. But we had learned a lesson.
My oxygen filter is acting up. All morning it's been as dry as a desert in the cockpit. We'll need to pay a visit to the repair yard when we get back.
All morning? You got some sense of humor there, Derek. It's always night here, and always a desert.
Seekers, enthusiasts, and dreamers, we directed all our efforts outward and became not destroyers, but creators. Our robots and drilling equipment bit into the featureless white ground, sinking meter by meter into the very heart of our only moon, so that one day we would be able to get through this mass of dead moon soil and extract real treasure. Our new house that will help us renew our old one. By exceeding our limits, we freed ourselves from our chains.
All right, and that was the latest official trailer, again, just from a few days ago, and to me, it looks pretty cool. Again, we heard some of that backstory. Pretty trailers, they're great and all, but what about the gameplay? Now, I don't have a ton of gameplay footage to show you, but I do have some, so let's take a look at that. And rather than having me just talk over it and tell you what I see as it plays, I'm gonna just shut my yapper and let you take in the gameplay, and then we'll come back and we'll talk more about the game. Now, as this footage plays, there's a bunch of cool things to see. So you can pause, rewind it if you want to catch a closer look at some of the details. I encourage you to do that if you see stuff that's cool, but we'll talk about it when we come back. Here we go with that footage. So we can see from that footage that mining is obviously a huge part of the game, as is kind of building out your base on the moon. I think I also saw some like hydroponic structures in there, so you're obviously going to be growing food for your colony, and it all just looks very, very, very cool to me. As we look at some of the building models in the game in the background here, let me read a bit more about what the developers have to say about the game. It says, as a director, you will lead a project for the development of the moon, created with support from the largest countries and corporations of Earth. You have to search for and extract valuable resources, working at several levels at once with the help from drones and a scanner that'll show you which direction you should dig to at least find something useful besides regolith. Now, regolith, by the way, is that loose dust, dirt, and rock that blankets the surface of the moon. I had to look that up, so I'll share that with you. I wasn't super familiar with that word, regolith. Anyway, before the arrival of the first colonists, you'll have to prepare comfortable living conditions for them. And when distributing people to jobs, you'll have to take into account their skills, abilities, and condition. But this is only the beginning. Towards the middle of the game, you will be able to build a mobile drilling rig that will completely change your gameplay and your approach to resource extraction. In later stages of the game, you can construct megastructures and build additional bases on the moon, which also changes the gameplay substantially. The Crust provides many interesting tasks and challenges: exploring the moon, discovering new technologies, completing exciting storyline missions, interacting with representatives of different factions, surviving in the dark, setting up a base along with trade logistics on the world market. All of this and more are waiting for you in the Crust. I put a link to the game's website in the description, and there's a bunch of information about the game there that you can check out if you like. Let me share with you a few of the items that I found the most interesting. Now, with regards to the human colonists that you'll be sending up to the moon, here's what they say. Make sure that your colonists are in physical and psychological comfort. Have you provided your team with food, water, and oxygen? Well done. But that is still not enough. If colonists are bored, they will easily be distracted, making mistakes in their work. And if you end up on the other side of the moon, be prepared for outbreaks of endogenous depression. You will have to invest in technology and hardware in order to connect with the Earth. Most precious news one of your colonists can receive while in orbit is that their son is doing great in a football club. Colonists desperately missing their families back on Earth may go insane, causing you a myriad of problems in the process. Now, it's not a catastrophe, but if you need to call in the costly special forces from Earth in order to deal with that situation, you might be quite disappointed with the resulting bills, which can wreck your enterprise. Then it goes on to say, create an effective team. Everything depends on staff. Specialists who are ready to risk everything and work in such harsh conditions are very rare, and those that do agree may not fully realize what they will have to face. Headhunt. Invite the right people from Earth. Steal and poach the best workers from your competitors, but choose wisely. Take into account the psychological and physical condition of your potential colonists. There's always a chance that you'll accidentally hire a hardcore criminal or a competitor's corporate spy. The lack of specialists at a crucial moment may cause a disaster. And remember that you cover the expenses for traveling to and from the Earth. Okay, then there's another section here that pertains to the colonists, has to do with unions. It says, meet the unions halfway, or, and it goes on to say, rule rigidly, not sparing your team or yourself for the sake of saving billions of people on Earth. But you will have to accept the fact that there will always be some ungrateful people who are not happy with the level of oxygen in their spacesuits and living compartments, who aren't satisfied with the food from the hydroponic farms, the assortment of snacks in the vending machines, or the color of the bar counter. Why are they constantly complaining that they are tired? There's almost no gravity here, you pretenders. Strikes are not on your agenda. Will you pay or solve the problem differently? Although you can yield and fulfill the requests of these blackmailers to make the work conditions better and more comfortable, we hope you will not let them walk all over you. So that's kind of funny. There's some humor in there. So from that description, though, it sounds like there's going to be plenty of things you're going to need to do to manage your population of colonists on the moon and look after not only their like physical needs and food, but also their happiness level and contentment. You'll also need to deal with the drama of worker strikes, make sure you have the right mix of specialists in your colony, and compete with your competitors for staff as well out there on the moon. Now, at the top, I mentioned that the developers described the game as a, quote, large-scale economic simulator, end quote. Now, here's some of what they have to say about that aspect of the game. It says, create your own corporation or take over an existing one and build your financial empire. Buy out shares of your business from your own shareholders openly, or do it through frontmen. Try to take them over, where they may find out your plans and impose an embargo. Fortunately, we have smugglers and black markets. How far will you go in your fight for independence? Your persistence and greed will decide everything. They can definitely hear a bit more of that drama I was talking about in there, and then they go on to say, compete with your rivals and fight for resources. Who will be the first to arrive at a meteor impact location? Who will be the first to start development in a good place? Who will buy out all the necessary resources on the market or hire the most skilled specialists? No one likes competition, but on a lifeless piece of rock hundreds of thousands of kilometers away from home, competitors are the only ones who can quickly come to the rescue. Help a neighboring base in their time of need, or ask for help when it gets rough. Build and nurture relationships. Make cartel agreements and unite to maximize your profits. But it's also perfectly okay to ignore your partner's requests, although in this case, do not expect help from them. And poaching colonists from your competitors will not give you any extra social points either. So that's a little more of what they say about kind of the business side or the economic simulation side of the game. Again, the Crust, it just looks and sounds fantastic to me. Hopefully you guys can see the footage here and agree with me that it just looks pretty awesome, or at least has a ton of potential. Now, you can find a bunch more information about the Crust from the links I put in the description. I plan to keep following the game and tracking the game as it's developed, so watch for more or expect more content about the Crust here on the Glidercat channel. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you enjoy learning about cool new upcoming games just like the Crust, then go ahead and subscribe to the Glidercat channel. I browse literally thousands of games looking for the gems that I think you'll enjoy, and when I find them, I put them in these early preview videos so I can share them with you guys. Now, you can come up to speed with my latest finds in the First Look playlist that you can find here on the channel. There'll be a link in the description to that as well, so be sure to check it out. And seriously, check out that First Look playlist. There's a lot of cool games in there, and I know you'll find something that you like. And with that, this is Glidercat signing off, saying thank you so much for watching. I really mean it, and I will see you in the next one.